Hello YouTube. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Long time no see. Sorry I've been away, but I'm back and I'm back with a vengeance. 2024, I've decided, is going to be my year, and it's also going to be the year that I'm going to make lots of YouTube videos and I'm going to really commit and try and pump out as much content as I possibly can for you guys because I really enjoyed it. 2023 has been bit of a rough year for me, lots of life upheavals, so 2024 is the year that I want to make my year. 2024 is going to be my okay, and you need to make 2024 your oh my god, I sound like Andrew Tate. Right, swiftly moving on. I'm kicking that off today with a slightly different video. Don't fret, I know what you're thinking. Oh no, does that mean I'm not going to do movie reaction / commentary videos anymore? Maybe nobody was thinking that at all, but if there was anybody thinking that, I am still going to make videos like that, but I'm going to intersperse it with different video ideas, things slightly different. So starting that off today, we're going to be talking about, you guessed it from the title and thumbnail, the rise and fall of Outer Banks.
The Outer Banks, paradise on earth.
So I've got my notepad, made some notes. Picture this, 2020, you're locked in your house. The whole world is locked in their house due to a global pandemic, but we're not going to focus on that. The sun is shining. You've got more free time than you've ever had in your life. You're sitting, you're scrolling through Netflix. Oh, what's this? Outer Banks, top 10. Let's stick this on. Or your mate texts you, hey, Jade, you got to watch Outer Banks. I know that's what happened to me. Kate, if you're out there, thanks for the recommendation. And you think, do you know what, got nothing better to do. After I've whipped up some coffee and sugar, poured that in, made some banana bread and done a Chloe Ting ab workout, I'm going to sit on my sofa and I'm going to watch Outer Banks season 1. And my god, I think if that happens to you, it happened to you and a whole bunch of other people during lockdown, because Outer Banks was massive when it came out. Millions of people, along with you, sat and watched Outer Banks season 1 and loved it. It took off. It became so popular in 2020, and I want to explore why that was and why, in my opinion, there was a massive, steep decline in the success. So I'm going to talk about what made season 1 so successful, and I think that starts with the fact that it was lockdown. TV viewing numbers was some of the highest that we've ever seen because people have nothing else to do apart from stay home, watch telly, game, go on a daily walk and watch TikTok. So it was the perfect situation for something like that to become so successful. And I think that links in with the second point, that what they nailed perfectly in Outer Banks was the summer vibes. It was just, the colours were beautiful, the scenery was beautiful, and it was just impeccable vibes. And I think it was a perfect form of escapism for a lot of people, myself included. And I actually think it drew viewers that sort of programme might not have normally drawn. Like, for example, my boyfriend's dad is massive into fishing. He loves fishing. He would never usually watch a TV show like that, like, you know, the likes of Pretty Little Liars, Gossip Girl, Vampire Diaries, Outer Banks. They're targeted towards the same sort of person, in my opinion. He would never usually watch that, but because of the scenery and the location that Outer Banks was filmed in, he loved it. He just liked to watch it for the scenery and for the vibes. So yeah, I think it drew a big audience just from that. That brings me on to the next point. What does a TV show need in this day and age to become popular? Attractive people. We are all just vain creatures and we like watching pretty people on our screen, and my god did that show have enough pretty people. And it shot the likes of Madison Bailey and Madeline Klein to huge fame because they're very beautiful girls. And what do these pretty people have to be wearing? Good outfits. The outfits on that show had a chokehold on us as an audience, especially the character Kiara. Her outfits, they were different gravy, okay? The headbands, the necklaces, the colourful shorts, it was just so beachy and people ate that shit up. I saw TikToks of people recreating Key's outfits, and I remember there was one particular TikTok that I saw of a girl that recreated like her own version of an outfit of each of the Pogues. There was just a big focus on what they were wearing, and yeah, we absolutely loved it as an audience. And I think it did help with the popularity as well. Outer Banks did try its best as well to reference pop culture. They used slang that we used at the time. Case in point.
Did you just yeet over that chain?
I remember, I was like, why would the writers put that in there? But we're talking about it. I remember there was TikToks of people talking about the fact that they used that line in the show. The danger with using current references, current slang references, current pop culture references is that it dates a show a lot faster. It's like when you watch something from the 90s now and they've got those huge block cell phones, and at the time they're like, wow, this is the latest technology, and you watch it now and you're like, oh my god, it's so dated. It kind of is like that. That's not me saying that I don't like it when TV shows do that, because I like to watch things from certain eras as well. Like over the festive period, I watched Die Hard because I watch that every single Christmas, because that's a Christmas film in my opinion. I might make a video on Die Hard because I will die on the hill that Die Hard is a Christmas movie. But anyway, that's a side note. And I was watching it, and at the start where John McClane signs in at the hotel, he uses this technology where you like click your surname, or I think you input the first letter of your surname and it finds you on the system. And John McClane's like, neat toy.
Cute toy.
As if that's like revolutionary, because at the time it was, but now you watch it and you're like, oh my god. Another example, Jurassic Park, where Lex is like, it's an interactive CD-ROM.
It's an interactive CD-ROM. Look, see, you just touch the right part of the screen and it talks about whatever you want.
Like, she thinks it's the latest technology, and now you watch it and you're like, oh my days, this is so old. Yeah, it's just something to note that if you make the choice to put things in movies like that, it is going to date the movie. Outer Banks definitely did include some references and some phrases that I think will date it faster. But at the time, it definitely really helped with the popularity because people can relate to it. People think it's funny. It's like speaking their language. So I think fair play to the writers for doing that. Another big thing with this genre of TV show and what makes it so successful is shipping. If you are not familiar with what shipping is, it is when an audience roots for a couple to be together and they desperately want that couple to be together. You can ship characters and you can ship real people, and there was both of that going on with Outer Banks. People shipped the characters Kiara and JJ, people shipped the characters Sarah and John B, and people shipped the actors that played those characters. I truly believe that if you are making a genre of TV show for a teenage to young adult audience, then you need to have storylines and characters that lead people to ship characters together. People make fan accounts dedicated to these ships. People make TikToks. People talk about it on Twitter, online. Yeah, it just really elevates the popularity of a show. Because say you're scrolling on Instagram or TikTok and you come across one that is it's a clip of, say, a couple of characters, and there's some tension there, and all the comments are like, oh, they belong together, and you're like, oh, I want to be involved in this. I want to watch what's going on. I want to root for these people too. And then you go and watch it, and it's a snowball effect. And I know I certainly am very guilty of shipping people together. When I watched season 1, I was really rooting for Kiara and JJ. I remember that. When you ship characters, it's easier to bring an audience back for more, because you can always keep them hanging on. Are they going to end up together? Are they endgame? Are they going to have a fling? Things like Vampire Diaries, they did it for seasons with Elena and Damon. It really works, and I really believe that, the importance of shipping. The writers and the actors did a good job, because I think the actors that played Kiara and JJ, they did a good job of creating on-screen chemistry and tension. That does also lead me to the off-screen stuff. People went crazy for Rudy and Madison Bailey to end up together. People did like in-depth YouTube videos of interviews where Rudy and Madison like looked at each other or spoke to each other and would make edits of it, clips of it, talking about how they were meant to be together and they secretly love each other. Like, it was intense, so much so that it actually led to a bit of beef between them, but I'm going to talk about that when I come to the fall of Outer Banks. Madeline Klein and Chase Stokes, they got together in season 1 of the show, and they announced after the show aired that they got together in real life, and people loved it. Honestly, there were edits and clips of them as well, so I think that was very instrumental in like the popularity of Outer Banks. And then my final point about the success of the show kind of links back to the pop culture references, but it's to do with the influence of TikTok, and whether that be the outfits they were wearing, like edits of people shipping each other together, and then the infamous sound that went viral after the show came out.
You love the idea of me. You love being seen with me, but you don't love me.
You guys will all remember that sound was really popular at the time. There was even a blooming dance to the sound.
It's a TikTok dance. It's the only one I can do.
And yeah, that had like millions and millions of hits on TikTok. And even just that sound alone probably brought people to Netflix to watch it, because so many people were talking about it on TikTok. I think that rounds up everything about why the show was so popular, but I'm also going to delve into what I believe to be the fall of Outer Banks. Now, let me just throw this out there. I am fully aware that some people may think that there has been no fall of Outer Banks. It's still, admittedly, the numbers don't lie, it still does good numbers on Netflix. All 3 seasons made it to Netflix's global top 10, and that's saying something. So they must have been doing something right. They were bringing an audience back to watch more. However, Outer Banks, in my opinion, does not still have the same influence and popularity that it did back when it came out. It lost its magic, and here's why. The first and most obvious reason is hype. When a season of a show or a first movie in a series is highly successful, there is going to be a lot of hype and a lot of talk around it, and therefore a lot of expectation for what the next installment is going to be like. People expect it to be as good as the first, if not better, and it's very hard for writers to emulate the success from the first version of something in the second version of something without outright copying it. So they try and do something different, and it often doesn't work, and in the case of Outer Banks, it did not work. The second season was not as good as the first, the third season was not good as the second. It was just a steady decline for me, and it doesn't help when your expectations are high. Sorry if you guys can hear some background noise. It's literally tipping with rain outside because I live in England, and when is it not raining? The next thing that I think made those subsequent seasons not as good was the fact that for the most part they weren't even based in the Outer Banks. Like, what? The show is literally called Outer Banks. People loved it because it was in the Outer Banks, the scenery. There was just some sort of magic about it. So season 2 was basically entirely set in Barbados. I really didn't like it. I don't know why they decided to move the show to a new setting when it just worked in season 1. They tried something different. It was high stakes and it didn't work for them, in my personal opinion. Some of you out there probably think that, of course, it's subjective. We don't all like the same thing. There will be some of you out there that actually maybe preferred the second and third season and loved that it was set in Barbados. But me personally, and I think I speak for a lot of people, I think I generally do, we were just confused. Like, why are we in Barbados? No one wants to see this. We want to see the Outer Banks. We want to see what's happening back at home. And even season 3, I mean, I struggled to get through season 3. I don't even remember a lot of it because I was not paying full attention because it just lost me so fast. Even season 3 wasn't entirely set in Outer Banks, and I just think that they need to go back to their roots and think about what made that first season good. I know it's not possible to recreate a lot of it, but a good place to start is where it's set. Let me know down below if you disagree with me. That leads me on to my next point of terrible writing. I'm sorry to say it, but I don't know what fantasy land the writers were living in season 2 and season 3 in those writers' rooms, because it just got ridiculous. It was pure fantasia, so unrealistic. Obviously, a lot of season 1 isn't hugely realistic. It's literally about a group of teenagers searching for gold. Like, you've got to have some poetic license with it. And I know I get comments on my YouTube videos sometimes saying, why are you applying logic to certain situations, certain surroundings? It does annoy me too. If you're watching something and it has like a fantasy element to it and you can't take it out your brain, that so say you're watching Game of Thrones and you're like, not realistic because it's got dragons in it and dragons don't exist. Like, sometimes you've got to let a show have some poetic license. It's for entertainment. Like, it's set in a fantasy world. Just buy into the fantasy. With shows like Outer Banks, oh my god, the rain is coming down. Sorry if you can hear that, guys. With shows like Outer Banks, you know it's not entirely realistic because it's not tried to be realistic from the first season. It is literally about teenagers digging for gold, and it's just not realistic to happen. And I get that, and I bought into it, and that's okay. But when you then go and come up with completely crazy storylines,
that was the gnarliest power slide I've ever done.
That just are so unrealistic and so don't belong in that world that they've built. It just takes you out of it. And for me personally, yeah, I just didn't like where the story went. It just became so ridiculous, so silly. It just lost me. Lost me throughout the second season. It was losing me pretty quickly, and it completely lost me in the third season. And also, let's talk about the off-screen drama, because that definitely had an effect on the show. I don't necessarily think it had an effect on the viewing numbers at all, but I think it did have an effect in the sense that it ruined some of the magic from the first season. There was some beef that, as from my understanding and my research and my time online, there was some beef between Rudy Pankow, Madison Bailey, and Madison Bailey's girlfriend Mariah, and it was quite public. Obviously, it must have been quite uncomfortable for Madison's girlfriend and for Rudy's girlfriend to have Madison and Rudy so shipped together by the public. Like I said, people were making edits of them and how they were deeply in love with each other, and bringing up videos of them behind the scenes and all this sort of stuff. It must have been very uncomfortable for them to watch that unfold and think, oh my god, my literal boyfriend is being shipped with somebody else. Like, it's not a great feeling. And my understanding is that this led to some sort of beef between the four of them. I'm not going to get into it entirely because, to be quite honest, I don't know the ins and outs of the beef, but I do know that beef occurred, and I remember kind of keeping half an eye out for it. Madison addressed it on her, I think it was her Instagram story at one point. Rudy had to make a comment about it as well, and he is very publicly on Instagram. I noticed he's very much he's very public about his girlfriend and how much he loves his girlfriend. So yeah, I just think a lot of people it just sort of took some of the magic away for a lot of the people that sort of thought, oh, they're such good friends. It's so nice to see this group of people that are all such good friends, and now they're having beef and having to address things online, and the on-screen chemistry as a result is just dead. So yeah, it wasn't a good mix, to be honest. And then flipping Madeline Klein and Chase Stokes broke up as well, and their chemistry on screen, in my opinion, just took a nosedive after that happened. And yeah, you just don't really root for them anymore. There's not really any excitement about, oh, these characters gonna get together, oh, these people gonna get together. I know I sound kind of crazy right now talking about this, but let's be honest, audiences have parasocial relationships with these people. People that are into that sort of thing really do root for people to get together, and it just ruins the viewing experience when, yeah, there's like beef going on behind the scenes. So I really don't think that helped either. The biggest culprit, though, in my opinion, is the writing. If the story had remained to be good, then I think it might have potentially kept a bit more of its hype for a bit longer. I just think it was a perfect storm, that first season. The lockdown, the summer vibes, the escapism, the outfits, the rise of these actors, and sort of like the popularity they gained through things like Instagram. Like, it just created a hype about it that is very hard and it's very hard to like match that hype in coming seasons. I'm really interested in this sort of thing, and you know, what makes the success of TV and films. I did in fact do a degree in this, so I like to think I know what I'm talking about a little bit. And I think depending on how this video goes down, I might do a little bit more sort of analytical content on movie and TV. I'll see. Let me know if you guys like it and enjoy it. But guys, don't forget the important golden rule: no pogue on pogue macking. Hope you enjoyed. See you next week guys with another video. Take care of yourselves and Happy New Year.